Good morning, Realtist Nation. I have the pleasure. My name is Courtney Jones. I'm the local board president of the mighty Dearborn Realtist Board, and I have the pleasure of having our first vice president, Gwendolyn Newton, on this broadcast with us as we start to wind down and wrap up what's been an amazing Realtist week. Gwen?
Good morning, everyone. We have had a fantastic, phenomenal, actually, week. I am still basking in all of the information that we received on Monday from our legends. And I'm just enjoying this time that we've been able to reach out to our real estate communities and our membership. It's just been awesome. Thank you so much, Chief. President Jones has been personally, as a friend and as a leader, it's been a life-changing ride. And I just want to extend the invitation for people.
She just texted, we're not live yet.
Are you there?
Yes, we are not live yet.
Okay. It says recording on my end.
Yeah, I think she starts the recording first and then we go live.
It says that we are live on Facebook.
So Gwen, as you were saying, you were kind of talking to the different activities for the week.
Yes, I was speaking of what has been a significant learning opportunity for myself as well as the other board members and our membership in talking with the legends. Mrs. Morris was just, she was so gracious, so humbling, so informative. I'm looking forward to working with her as we move forward with our missions and goals. And the wisdom and knowledge from past President Branch, past President Joyce Gibson, and our past president and our current communications chair, Diane Simmons. It just was a phenomenal night.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had the pleasure of listening to them individually over the years, and to hear them together like an R&B group, if you will. It was amazing, and I've gotten such tremendous feedback from our Realtist community around, wow, just to hear that folks used to have to be in caravans, when we have the blessing of technology, but then learning the difference between even how technology could be a gift and how it can be a curse. Because if you're in caravans with folks for hours, that's a lot of bonding. That's a lot of fellowship that's taking place. You're also more hands-on with clients, right? Because now not only are you talking to them, which we nowadays often reach people by phone, but now could you imagine you're talking to somebody while they're cutting their grass? So it's a whole different type of organic rapport building opportunity that it sounds like they had the opportunity through grit and hard work to establish.
President Jones, I also think, in the spirit of having living legends is very impactful. And as we, move forward to kind of lay out our history and document everything, I just think it's awesome. Oftentimes we try to go back and rewrite the past or collect facts and build out stories, but to have the actual, the witnesses to the events and their recounts of what has occurred, I just think is impactful.
Oh, big time. I completely agree. So what excited me about the opportunity today to kind of dive into the week as a whole, and then kind of share from the president's view, if you will. Um, it excites me because at a time like this, we as realtors, we really need to be bonding together, strategizing together, digging in the trenches to what economic opportunities exist, sharing, moving forward, being visionaries so that we prepare our membership. What does life after COVID-19 looks like? So that folks can take advantage of whatever economic opportunities present themselves. But then there's a democracy in housing aspect to the Dearborn Realtist Board, to where we also act in civil rights, right? So let's be clear. We got to also make sure our banking partners are cognizant of our folks filling out the SBA, right? Whether it's the injury disaster fund, or whether it's the PPP, making sure that our voices are heard. And kudos to the National Association of Real Estate Brokers for leading the charge in terms of being in the forefront in Washington, D.C., making sure that we do have a voice and we are included. We've raised all the concerns that members have shared around, you tried to apply at this bank and they told you didn't have an account. And through all of the purposeful, pointed activism that was done, it was declared that that would be in violation of what the SBA and HUD, excuse me, was doing to get those resources to the street. Okay. So I'm very proud of what Realtist Nation is about, what we're doing, and how we've been in the forefront of engaging this pandemic. I'm very pleased.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
So, Madam First Vice President, in the essence of time, what I'd like to do is kind of dive into the presentation for today. And I keep wanting to stress, where there's a realtist, there's a way. So I'm going to move forward. The destiny of the Dearborn Realtist Board. Where we're going is an exciting chartered path. And Realtist Week takes us from that, how we started, what were those issues, fair housing, to current, where we're talking about things like having real estate brokers also be developers and not just solely transactional, right? How do we take our community, who has been a predominantly renting community here in Chicago, and turn that into a home ownership community, right? How do we take our rehabbers and developers and help them scale to become mid-rise to high-rise developers? How do we take our real estate attorneys and have them now become our guardians at the gate for families through housing court, through loan modification, forbearance, building code for our seniors with tax exemption? It's all about taking our housing counseling folks and now bridging the gap with our NARAB initiative of our faith-based civic engagement piece, and making sure the larger portion of our community is getting the financial literacy support that they need. So it's all about this cycle moving forward. So there was a quote that was that I had the privilege of giving during Fair Housing Month. And it's important that we educate the people we represent. What's appropriate, what's illegal, and what's discrimination. And that's really near and dear to my heart as current board president, because there are tons of opportunities that our folks miss because that information never gets to them. So currently, things like the minority business enterprise, the women business enterprise, what we refer to as the, WBE and MBE. There are contracts that are available, and I feel with this mighty board that I have the privilege of working with, that bringing that information to the real estate community that are our membership is important. It's definitely important. These contracts keep folks making money, especially through a period of time like this with the pandemic, which could be the difference between someone's business staying open and someone business facing challenges. So, democracy in housing. How did you come to know the Dearborn Realtist Board? Well, this story, Gwen, goes back to, I want to say 2014, 15. I had the privilege of going to a Chicago Bulls game. Now, as a New Yorker, as we all know, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. But in going to this event, I had the privilege of meeting Gerald McWhorter. And Gerald McWhorter was sharing with me about the Dearborn Realtist Board, what the group was about. And then my wife, Sanina Ellison, and Sarah Ware were folks who shared some impactful information around what this organization was about, what it stood for. And anybody that knows me as a person knows how passionate and competitive I am. So I would always, start trolling the organization after, and I would go to an event, and then I would leave the event, and like most of us competitive people, you have some suggestions. Well, I was challenged, like I would challenge all of you, that if you think something could be improved, who else better to bring that forward than you, the suggester, right? And that's how they pushed back on me. And I'm so glad they did. I'm so glad they called me to the carpet. I'm so glad they put me to, as they say, be a man or woman of your word. And it's been an exciting, workful a ride. I've met some amazing leaders in real estate. I've met some amazing consumers, clients, but partners. There are several folks who are passionate about moving the needle on Black home ownership, as well as for Blacks to build wealth in real estate. So it's been passionate. Next, when I'd like to kind of dive here into the rich history of the Dearborn Realtist Board. Now, as you spoke to, we had the legends, and we have several legends. I mean, from attorney Diane Odell, who just had a birthday, happy birthday, to, folks like our Millie Reyes Williams, to our folks like, I could just go Walter Simmons. There's just so much rich history of past President Frank Williams. There's just so many folks that have been a part of this battle to move the needle on Black home ownership and building wealth through real estate for Black families, that we are standing on the shoulders of folks. So when you look at things like restrictive covenants, which that alone just blew me away. I'm a child that was born in 1974. And being a kid who went to St. John's University, I could not fathom when I learned in Chicago that restrictive covenants meant you could not live anywhere you wanted. It was against the law. So with that notion, and you look at some of the issues that plight the low to moderate income neighborhoods, it's not accidental. And what I love about us all in Realtist Nation, we have an opportunity to not just be talkers. We get to take the mission that our founders had started on and continue to move that football down the football field. So that leads me into the relevance of Dearborn today. What are the issues facing the Realtist community today? I mean, where do I start? Just recently with the pandemic, we've had folks being challenged with feeling like with these lottery systems, folks haven't been getting selected. With the PPP, folks are trying to apply, and you had to go through hurdles just to get your application submitted. Then after we fought to show that you shouldn't have to have a bank account with a respective bank, all the monies were gone. Yeah. So these are the type of things that are issues facing Realtist Nation today, because those funds were lobbied and fought for,
Right.
for the American public to give all business owners and families an opportunity to stay in business while we're adhering for our family's safety to shelter in place. But it wasn't to have shelter in place and you starve while others had access to all the resources, right? So what can we learn from the past? Never stop fighting.
That's right.
You
Amen.
know, there's so much we could speak to this particular question, but to be clear, I think it's just, if you're in earshot of this presentation, if you're in eyesight to read the presentation, I beg you, on behalf of generations to come. I know we hear things like pay it forward, but this in and of itself speaks to the need that all of us have to care about all of us. And I think it was Martin Luther King, but forgive me if I misquote, but it was, an injustice, to anyone is an injustice to all of us. And that's a huge concept to me as a realtist, because if we all don't stand up for what the community needs, right? But what the Black community needs, we've seen the history of how we've been a day late, dollar short, and even the programs that have been geared, like the JOC program, Section 3, these are things that we have to fight to keep them, right? These are the types of programs that help our folks. When we look at this WBE and MBE, that was geared to give Black folks an opportunity to get those contracts. Well, we have to stay a watchful eye, because that program cannot be watered down to keep adding and adding more folks to the table, which dilutes the economic opportunities that would be for our folks to take advantage of. Because let's be clear, these programs are geared to start making things more equitable and more fair, right? It's not like we're being done a favor. And I think it's important that as we learn from our past, that we can't take our foot off the gas pedal, right? What's for us, we have to demand it's for us. And we have to look and become the protectors of the neighborhoods that we live in. And that's a universal protection. That means if people are doing wrong things in our neighborhood, we need to hold people accountable. We have to police ourselves, and that was something that we saw through the civil rights movement that folks were doing. And I think we've kind of gotten a little away from what's considered my business as a concept. Gwen, do you want to add anything in what we've learned from the past piece before I move on?
Yes, thank you, President Jones. So actually, past President, Madam Sanina and I were talking at length a couple of days ago about some of the challenges that we are experiencing today, which is really just a mirror reflection of what our historians experienced, 30 plus years ago. There are hurdles, the hurdles that occur today are often not blatant, they're hidden. And so personally, I attempted to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. And if you didn't have a business account at a particular bank, you were not allowed to apply. If you didn't have an account at another bank, you were not able to apply. And so it was aggravating and upsetting that I do have bank accounts and I can't apply at the institutions that are holding my money. And so I actually reached out to the SBA and was told that the individual banks are allowed to set their own criteria. And my question, because we say in Illinois, if it's not written, then it didn't happen. I looked at the contract that the lenders had to sign in order to participate in the program, and it clearly identified independent contractors as one of the recipients of this program. And I just became infuriated that I'm looking at this contract, they signed the contract, and now there's no one that is holding the banks accountable to that contract. And so, Madam Past President Sanina and I were just sharing experiences. And, you know, I was like, I really, maybe I just need to get on the news, or I need to spread the word. So I've been sharing information with other people. I think this is critical for us as realtists, is to share information. And it's just, you know, it goes beyond just the programs that are being created by the local government and federal government levels, but just resources, period. If you find a resource that you're able to benefit from, spread the word. We've got to be able to infiltrate our own communities to share this impactful, whatever that information is. There's enough out there for us that we don't have to be, you know, work in a selfish spirit, you know, share. I just plead with our communities to share information, resources of all kinds.
Great point. Great point. Let's get over here to this topic on leadership. What are some of the accomplishments of the Dearborn Realtist Board under your leadership as president? I've had the pleasure of leading this prestigious trade association for this is my second and final term. And I'm just so proud of so many accomplishments that this administration has put forward off of the strengths of prior administrations. So one of the things that I would want to highlight would be us embarking on the National Association of Real Estate Brokers Wealth Building Community Day. Under President Ron Cooper, this was started. And, you know, President Jeffrey Hicks and then President Donnell Williams have continued to bring this forward. And could I tell you all that the community day that we hosted at Malcolm X College, and I can't thank enough folks like Alderman Michael Scott, Alderman Gregory Mitchell, Deputy Commissioner, Managing Commissioner Anthony Simpkins, Megan Hart from LISC, Bridget Gaynor, Commissioner Gaynor, Executive Director Rob Rose. I mean, there's just, and then all of the faith leaders. I mean, I can't even begin to start, you know, whether I talked to Reverend Johnny Miller, you know, Pastor Michael Eady, Brother Leonard Muhammad. There's just so many amazing partners here in the Chicagoland area that I, as president, have been blessed to work with and partner with. I mean, Vance Henry out of the mayor's office, I mean, have been instrumental in helping pull together Black Chicago, whether it's with the Land Bank partnership and having them come out and speak at that Wealth Building Day. We had over 1,100 Black families come out to learn about housing, to learn how to own, to learn how to become advocates of the neighborhoods that they live in. I mean, folks like State Rep LaShawn Ford, big ups to LaShawn Ford, he stepped out with the Dearborn Realtist Board first in terms of us doing a state of housing and Black America piece. So, you know, Gwen, as I reflect on some of the milestones, you know, that we have all been able to establish or build together, I mean, the pushback that I got in meetings was we would be lucky to have 200 families come out. So I think that's why it resonates so big in my memory and in my spirit, because we had folks coming out crying because they were so excited that they got pre-approved. I mean, the feedback that was being shared when, you know, when Rob Rose hosted that private meeting for the pastoral leadership, you know, to talk about how to become developers in the communities that their congregants live in. I mean, these are the things that the National Association of Real Estate Brokers stands for. And as a local chapter, having the opportunity to bring forth said opportunity, I mean, it was mind blowing for me. And to have us have several of these community wealth building days and even become more specialized, um, that's just one of the milestones that I'm really proud of. And just in the essence of time, there's one other that I'll speak to, and that was the community receivership / forfeiture training program. I mean, there were tons of folks that I want to say thank you to that were like the leaders in this space. There's folks like Mark Carter on the west side, Melvin Bailey, you know, J.R. Fleming, you know, folks like Jesse Jones, and there's just so many folks who have been battling these issues. And for us as Realtist Nation to be privileged enough to construct a curriculum around real estate, because our trade association is all encompassing of the different industries that make up a home purchase transaction or to build a home, to then be able to leverage those political partnerships where we were able to actually get this curriculum approved, you know, by folks like a supervisory housing court judge Leonard Murray, who, without the support of those judges seeing value in the neighborhood being included at the table, is just unbelievable. Um, when you have, you know, folks like building commissioner Judy Friedland and others who, you know, were open to hearing our concerns, open to hearing our plight, and willing to jump in and be a part of these things. We've had more folks from the neighborhood take ownership of distressed property. So I'm super proud of that. We've had folks become way more knowledgeable about the forfeiture process when this information wasn't even available. I mean, we have folks sharing with us horror stories at alderman town halls around they were interested in a home, and next thing you know, it was somebody owned it, but they never saw it hit the market or anything like that. So we took a lot of pride in trying to figure out a way to move forward. But to then see that same passion that came from folks fighting on these issues before us, to then be able to get an ordinance passed for vacant and distressed, I mean, that just, if nothing else happened in the rest of my blessed time as being board president, that'll be something I take to my grave. That, you know, our amazing city council saw value in that particular piece to see that get passed. So when those would be just two of the highlights that I would speak to in terms of accomplishment that I'm really proud
of. Those were the magnitude and the impact of those two programs is phenomenal. And I look forward to, you know, once we are back out in front of our real estate community, being able to set up the next phases of those programs. But I did want to take a moment, because we had, for our February Community Day, which was our last Community Day that we hosted in Evanston with Alderman Robin Simmons and the Ebenezer AME Church. Our current membership chair, phenomenal Millie Reyes Williams, actually sent over a note to us saying thank you, that she was getting ready to close one of the buyers that we pre-approved at that event. And so the impact of what we are doing is assisting families not only in the Chicagoland area, but in the outlying communities as well. And so again, you know, I encourage people to reach out to our board, reach out and connect, and become a part of our membership.
Awesome. Great point. Next, leadership lessons. What have been some of the challenges you've experienced as a leader? Um, ooh, that's a great question. Really, I think it's wanting to take the passion that you feel and put it in someone else. I think everybody has their own unique style and approach, and I think one of the things that I have been learning is that we have to allow folks' leadership to shine through. And you can't push your style or your approach on someone else. I think I've also been learning, and I want to give a big shout out, to mentor Ronald Branch, past President Branch, for allowing me to, make mistakes and having someone there to punch you in the head when you need it, and then pat you on the back when they think you've done something well. So I want to give a big shout out to him for that, and Miss Lavina Norris, who was also one of the ones who inspired me as president. But I definitely would also say not trying to do it all. I think in leadership, I at times struggle with, the speed in which I work, that you can end up hurting what you're trying to accomplish by not releasing the reins. And it's been an amazing ride to see how the more you trust other folks' leadership, like you want your leadership trusted, how things get birthed that you didn't even imagine could have even been possible. So I'm super blessed to work with, I'd argue, the best board in the country. You know, the dedication, the hard work, the putting in the hours, the humbleness that the group has. But I love the fact that the group is truthful, and I've really grown a huge fond respect for, direct and honest. In business, that could be the difference between a failed venture and a successful venture, by not being open to feedback and criticism. And just because you're the president doesn't mean it's your way. There are tons of great leaders, and we as presidents have to be open, conscious, and willing to learn from everybody and everything. That's just some of the mistakes that I've made and have had the privilege to learn from as president. Next, advice for aspiring leaders. Ooh. With elections for the new leadership term coming up, what are some thoughts that you would share with aspiring leaders? Well, most of our membership should have seen a couple of emails that the Dearborn Realtist Board is taking applications currently for leadership. For those that may be interested in joining the board of directors of this organization and being a part of the change that you would want to see happen in the Black real estate community here in Chicago. And all I would really say is, in terms of aspiring leadership, is be open, come prepared to work, be passionate about what you do, and own your seat. And what I mean by that is, in any organization, right, you're going to have leadership that is spread out. So if I'm the communications chair, or I'm the media chair, or I'm responsible for putting on events and outreach, it's going to be critical that I own that responsibility to the best of my ability. And that's what makes organizations great, right? I love some of the things that I've learned in watching how the military trains the soldiers, because the weakest link in the chain can break the chain. So it's critical that each one of us, as we are leaders and aspire to be leaders, that no matter what task you volunteer for or you may be asked or assigned, that it would be imperative that you really digest what it takes to meet the expectation and really give it all of what you have. And I think that's what I would share with any aspiring leader. And Gwen, with this particular question, is there anything you would want to share that you would want to share in terms of an aspiring leader or someone that may be looking to apply to be on the board of directors?
Yes, thank you so much. So, I think that as we, especially being in real estate, we see a lot that is going on from the Real Estate Trade Association standpoint. And I think a lot of times we sit in the background, for fear of stepping forward to, share their thoughts or their concerns. And some people may be walking around with a spirit of fear or reluctance because they don't think that they have enough uh, background, history, skill sets to apply for board positions. And so, although there are a unique set of skill sets that are required just in terms of being able to communicate, being able to execute, maybe forward thinking, but everybody has skill sets that can complement other people on the board, on your, or even in fact, just on teams. And so what I would encourage people to do at this time is step out on faith, step out on the opportunity that is presented to you, and it may be just the right fit for you. You may say, okay, I'm not sure if I could do this, but it is also an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to build muscles in places that you may not, actually exercise. And so for myself, I've taken on many roles in leadership from back in my corporate days. And so that particular leadership muscle is always working within my spirit, in my DNA. But when you start mentoring and coaching and assisting others, it's like we're building a community. We're building a community of strength and opportunity out there. And so I just want to encourage people, don't be fearful, don't be scared. Come forward. We need membership. We need more innovative thinkers. We need different schools of thought to be part of the organization, because it can't just be one person's way. Everybody is different in this world, and we need to appeal to everyone.
Awesome. Dear past, thank you for all the lessons. Dear future, I am ready. Let's speak to looking to the future. What is most promising about the future of Realtist Nation? Okay, now we talking. So, promising. What I see for Realtist Nation would be the ability for us to be the major developers and rehabbers of all of the Black metropolitan cities across the country. What I see in our future is the Realtist organizations across the country having a direct partnership with Fannie and Freddie and HUD directly when it comes to REO and how things are being disseminated, properties are being disseminated in our neighborhoods. I see Realtist Nation in a position where these organizations will be working in concert with your NAACP as we do currently, your Urban League as we do currently, different CDFIs like we do currently, like the Chicago Community Loan Fund, and others. LISC Chicago, can't brag enough about that partnership with LISC and CCLF. But I just foresee going forward how a lot of the decisions that the mayors and the governors are making around housing in low to moderate income neighborhoods, they will be consulting and partnering with the experts that do it on a daily basis, that live and worship in these areas. So I'm definitely positive and uplifted about that, because as the National Association of Real Estate Brokers under President Donnell Williams currently, as we continue to all push forward, it's going to be harder and harder for Realtist Nation representing, the Black community in terms of wealth building through real estate to not be at the table. So I'm very promised about that. For those who have not become members of Realtist Nation, what do you attribute that to? There's a couple of things. One, I think the more we get the word out about the impactful pieces that the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB, and here locally in Chicago, the Dearborn Realtist Board has accomplished, I think more and more folks will want to get on bus. Because as a democracy and housing organization, we're all inclusive, we're all accepting of all races, colors, and creed to be a part of said mission, because the fairness and equity in real estate actually supports everybody. So I think it's more of getting the word out so that when folks hear the Dearborn Realtist Board, they know that this is a democracy and housing real estate trade association. And I think more of the branding, Madam First Vice President, as we continue to get the more and more of the word out and folks hear the tagline, Black Real Estate Trade Association, I think it'll be more eye-catching, ear-catching for folks to recognize what this powerful group is, what they've done. And then there are a lot of prideful people, in Chicago. So I think the more folks find out that things like restrictive covenants and other fair housing issue type of things that this organization has taken on, at face, you would want to be involved with an organization that's about fighting for your economic prosperity. So I think that's it. It's just a matter of getting the word out more. Why should real estate professionals lock arms with Dearborn? It's really all about preservation, because if we look at history in terms of just recent history, with the civil rights piece, protest and walkouts and sit-ins, these are things that are a part of our history, whether it's the Malcolm X's of the world, the Martin Luther Kings of the world, I could go on and on and on with some of our civil rights leaders, but don't make light of it. If you're not willing to stand up and fight for the person in front of you and the person behind you, you're missing out. And a lot of the luxuries that we have currently, like living where you want, not having to buy from someone else at a proprietary situation, because the mortgage you couldn't acquire on its own, so you had to get a contract purchase, as Ms. Norris spread some light on. I think these are the reasons why I would say we all need to be compelled to stand with one another, because we're only stronger together, and the more we have, the more we can accomplish. So that's just some of the few reasons that I believe that real estate professionals should want to and be compelled to lock arms with the Dearborn Realtist Board here in Chicago. So with that point, Gwen, do you want to touch on that last piece before I move forward?
President Jones, I think you have done a great job of encapsulating everything and the reasons why we need to lock arms. We just need each other at the end of the day. We are fierce, standing as a team and together.
Thank you.
A force to be reckoned with.
Okay, now in the spirit of fun facts about the president. What is your favorite food? Now, this is embarrassing, right? Because I'm going to put it out here. my favorite food at the end of the day is a hamburger. Um,
Burgers too.
yes, it doesn't get any better. So if you gave me the $250 steak or the $15 hamburger, I'm gonna say give me that hamburger. That's just that. That's just my thing. In Queens, New York, when we went to school, there was a place called Jackson Hole, Hole, and they had a burger literally the size of a catcher's mitt.
Oh wow.
And my roommates and I would legitimately, like idiots, go to this place and have a competition of who could finish the burger. And whoever lost had to pay for everyone else's food. Now, mind you, it's four roommates and we're in college, so no one had any money. So you would basically stuff yourself just so you wouldn't have to pay for somebody else's food.
Wow.
Yeah, gluttonous at its highest point. What is your favorite movie? Mm, I have several. For most people that know anything about me, know that I'm a strategy kind of guy. So I love like all of the Navy SEAL type of movies, the Usual Suspect, type of suspense movies. But of late, I've been really, really stuck on The Dark Knight. That Dark Knight movie, it just sparks my thought process. Yeah, so that gets me. And my Malcolm X movie. I mean, there's just too many movies that I like to speak to. But I'm a big strategist guy. I'm a big team building guy, and I like suspense. So yeah, but there's several movies, so I'd be on here all day. What book are you reading right now? Okay, now I'm stuck between two, so I pick them up and then I put them down and I pick them up again. And one is the Secret, and then the other one is the $1 Million Agent. And I kind of refer to them because I've read them, but there are different things that come up, and I kind of always like refer to certain books for different things, for different purposes. What is your favorite song? Um, mm, my favorite song would be it's a hip hop song. So I'm gonna tell on myself there that it's my favorite hip hop artist all time is Notorious B.I.G. Mr. Brooklyn himself. Yeah. So, and my favorite song of Mr. B.I.G.'s would be um, ooh, it's uh, Party, and I'm gonna bleep out the rest, but that's my favorite song. It just gets me in a positive mood to enjoy to go out for the night. Let's see. What do you like to do in your free time? That's easy. There are two things I like to do. It's poker and golf. If anybody knows, fellowship for me is big. And with the work schedules that most of us have, and the family time commitments, to be able to sit at a table and catch up with folks and laugh and joke, and then hopefully you win, is awesome. But then in the golf piece, it feeds also the competitiveness that I have. And I didn't grow up playing golf, so when I was recruited to Chase out of college, it kind of turned me on to a new phase of sport. And it was a great networking opportunity, and I just fell in love with it after. And now I'm even a member of St. Mark's uh, Golf Club, which is a black males golf club on the south side of Chicago. So big ups to St. Mark's. So Gwen, that touches our piece. So how do we want to open it up so that if anybody has any questions or comments that we can address them?
Well, I am looking on our feed to see if I see any questions. I just sent a note out to our website to see if any of our watchers have any questions. But while we're waiting for a response, I want to welcome anyone to join our legendary organization. We are about building Black wealth through homeownership. You can find us at www.chicagorealtist.org. You can find out more information about our organization as well as join there. The Dearborn Realtist Board's mantra is democracy in housing, and we are at the forefront of the economic development in housing in the African American community. Again, that's www.chicagorealtist.org. If by chance you want to ask a question and we are no longer on air, you can always send us an email at drebmail, M-A-I-L, at gmail.com. That's drebmail@gmail.com. I don't see any questions coming in, President Jones, so I think you have covered a lot. I thank you again for your leadership.
No, thank you. And there's one thing I want to say in closing. I want to give a big acknowledgement to two brothers who really have engaged this mission of democracy in housing. And that would be Chicago's own Bobby Simmons. Bobby had played in the NBA for over 12 years. And, you know, him attending the community receivership training program, you know, as he is himself a developer and looking to do more to support Black housing, but also his passion is to bring more and more opportunities to our youth in Chicago through sports, through basketball. But he also hosted our State of Housing in Black America report this past October at his tavern at 2201 West Walnut Society. But he also came to Washington, D.C. to the Black Caucus to really share with the congressmen and the senators out there, you know, the importance of Black home ownership and the ability for Black rehabbers and developers and investors to make money in this space and to own the land in their neighborhoods. So I just want to give him as a partner in this a big shout out. And then also to a near dear friend of ours, the hip hop artist Waka Flocka Flame, who flew from Atlanta to Chicago to also be a part of the State of Housing in Black America piece. And he also flew from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. to attend the Black Caucus to also share with the congressmen and the senators, you know, from his industry's perspective of these opportunities being in the hands of the Black community. So I just want to give two big major shout outs to partners like them who, as influencers in the country, it only speaks more the more we stand together. So on that note, I just want to say I love you all in Realtist Nation. Keep plowing ahead. If you haven't already done so, join the Army. But whether you do or don't, we're going to continue to fight for what we know is right, for us to have a seat at the table, for our kids to go to great schools, for us not to suffer from food deserts. And we're willing to partner with any and all in these neighborhoods that are of a like mind and like spirit. So see you all on the battlefield. Everybody have an awesome rest of the day. And I'll be catching up with several of you this evening.
God bless everybody. Wear your mask and your gloves.
Thank you. Bye now.